This new video from Hitokiri Zing and Pike Analysis has completely changed the way that we're probably gonna end up playing Monster Hunter Wilds from now on. We knew that focus striking and popping wounds was super good, but we didn't know how good it was until this video. So I want to go through what this means, how you can take advantage of it, and how this will change the meta in Monster Hunter Wilds, while also giving you some builds to try this out. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and go and check Hitokiri's videos and Pike Analysis, as this video would not be possible without them. So, just to summarize, what they talk in this video is the fact that, well, if you know about wounds, whenever the boss takes a lot of damage in one particular place, you can focus strike them with your weapon, just like this, and this will do a lot of damage. But also, it will do one more damage here at the end, and you can see that number there, 30. I'm just going to do it again just so you can see it. That is the popping of the wound. By it exploding, it does, in this particular case, 30 damage. And the thing is, this doesn't get affected by anything, okay? Not your skills, not your weapon, not your buffs, nothing, except the boss's health. If the boss has more health, the more damage that will do. Essentially, it takes a percentage from the boss's health and uses that to calculate the amount of damage the boss takes. Now, we don't know that percentage because we would have to data mine, but that's the best way of doing it, of thinking about it. Think about it as putting a little sliver from the boss's health. So if the boss is tempered, there's a big new boss like Soshia that has way more health than the previous ones, the amount of damage this wound attack will be way bigger. So popping wounds like this and playing around it will be more beneficial the more time passes. Now, thanks to the investigation from Hitokiri Zing and Pike Analysis, and you should definitely go check these videos 100%. I'm telling you again because they're great videos, even though they are long. If you really want to know exactly everything about this, you should definitely go check it out. It's totally worth it. There's a few more things that will make you be able to do a bit more damage with these wounds. If you pop one wound, you'll get 60% of the damage of the wound. Now that sounds weird, but it is true. The first wound actually gets a nerf from the original damage. The original damage actually starts with 2 wounds. You can know this because Bow doesn't get affected by any of this. Regardless of the amount of wounds they pop, it's always 100%. That's how they discovered it. But just think about it like, you know, wound 1 does 60%, 2 wounds do 100%. And the more wounds you pop, the more damage you'll do. 2 wounds, 100, 3, 160%, 4, 165%, 5, 171%. And you can see this and try it out yourself, even right here. The first wound will do 30 damage, and the second one will do, boom, 50 every time, and so on and so on. If you were to do 3 at the same time, you get 80 at the third one, and then it starts going down a little bit, 165, 171. So ideally, you want to pop 3 wounds. After that, you get diminishing returns. Also, tempered wounds will get a 30% bonus. Instead of 60, it'll be 90, 100, 130, and so on and so on. And for the last thing to consider is that there's a special skill that you can get yourself in your build called Part Breaker that will make your pops of your wounds 10%, do 10% more damage each level you get. So level 1, 10%, level 2, 20, level 3, 30. So you can use this to go in here and do 30% more damage on each of these wounds. You can see that now I'm going to do 39 damage on the first one, boom, and 65 on the second one. From 60% wound damage to 231% damage if you get everything right. Now, this doesn't sound like that much damage whenever we're talking about the training dummy, but whenever you're talking about Soshia, for example, and you're doing 142 damage for one of the wound pops, this is gonna change a lot and be way better. This would change to 386% if we got all the multipliers we talked about before. And I guess if Soshia was able to actually get tempered wounds, which I don't think it's possible, but you get the point. Now, it's also important to consider the fact that the more players you play with, the more health the boss will have, and this will actually buff your wound damage as well. But this, I don't think is really relevant, because at the end of the day, the more people you have, the more damage you're gonna take, so it kind of evens out. That being said, I guess you could argue that Part Breaker, particularly this skill, gets better and better the more players you have, because of the health bar that grows on the boss. But you also have to consider that whenever you are doing Focus Strike, the first person that takes it is gonna be the only one that gets the pop from the wound. Everyone else will just get the bonus damage from just doing the focus strike, but not the pop wound. So let's move into how you should be thinking about this. What you should consider for your gameplay, and should you even bring this kind of stuff. Disclaimer, if you don't use the focus strike, the wound attack does not pop up. Do not try and get that wound pop without actually using the focus strike and just attack normally. It does not work. First, let's talk about squads. For squads, you obviously can play the way that you want, but if you're gonna wonder about this, if you are gonna try and min-max this, what you ideally would want to get is one person in the squad gets Part Breaker, and this person is the first person to actually pop up the wound. Focus strike the wound. Everyone can also do it afterwards, but that way we know that the Part Breaker person will be the one getting the wound attack, getting the 30% more damage than you usually would do. It's also important to consider that not every weapon can actually do multiple attacks on these wounds. Some weapons can only pop off one. For example, Sword and Shield, I'm pretty sure that it actually does this. I'm only gonna be able to destroy one wound each time, which makes someone who uses Focus Strike on Sword and Shield not viable to do it for the first time, as they will not be able to get multiple wounds in a row and get all these benefits. And obviously they should not bring Part Breaker. Now let's think about Tempered Wounds. I was thinking about this, and I was like, wait, if this is the case, wouldn't it matter for me to actually get a Tempered Wound at the end? You know, you go for first normal wound, for second normal wound, and then let's say this one is a Tempered Wound. Wouldn't it be better for me to pop that one at the end so I can get all those multipliers and a 30% increase? Not really, because that 30% increase will be applied at all times, right? Regardless of whether you do it in wound 1, wound 2, or wound 3, it always comes from the same base value. The damage will always increase for the same amount. From 30 to 45 in this case, from 50 to 65, and from 80 to 95. Every time 15%. Sorry, 15 damage in this case. Every time 30%. It doesn't really matter in which order you actually do it. Another thing, and this is honestly the most important one I think, is to always try and go for 3. There's a special, and I'll probably make another video for Longsword particularly, but there's a special double damage you can actually do with this by using the Focus Strike that goes to the side or goes backwards. This will do, whenever you're actually popping 2 wounds at the same time, do a bit more damage than if you do the normal attack, where you actually just Focus Strike forward. But even though that is useful, it is way more important for you to pop up 3 in a row than trying to greet that. Now, obviously, and this is actually true, the Focus Strike on Sword actually gets benefited by going to the side, as it will actually do more AoE, just like you saw that right there. Getting benefited overall, not only by the double pop, but also by having a longer and a higher AoE attack, higher range. But you should always prioritize in any weapon that you're going for trying to get 3 wounds at the same time every time to get that maximum buff. Now, of course, you could go for 4 and 5, but the diminishing returns are so big that I would even consider just popping 3 and then going for the 4, saving the 4 and 5 for another situation when you pop out another wound and then you pop, boom, 3 more. Instead of going 5 every time, you go 3, then 2 or 3, and then 3 once one more wound appears, which is totally possible because whenever you're doing damage with the Focus Strike, you might actually get another wound while you're doing it. So if we were to pretend that there was a wound right here, no, actually, let's pretend there will be a wound right there. We would want to avoid that one in order for us to not pop it and use it later instead, and pop this one right there, that one right there, and the imaginary one right there. All right, now let's go for skills. We talked about Power Breaker, but there's other ones to actually consider, and I actually made some builds for this as well. As we talked about before, Power Breaker will give us 30% more damage if you get to max on the 30% skill on level 3 skill on the wound pops. But we also need to consider Tenderizer. Tenderizer will give us weakness exploit. Attacks that hit weak points gain affinity, and with an extra 3% on wounds. And because we're gonna be popping up wounds all the time, and this will not affect the specific wound attack, but everything that goes around it, this will benefit us greatly, giving us a lot of affinity and something to consider to bring in your build. Of course, I can't really tell you exactly how much Tenderizer you should bring. It depends on your build and your class, and I probably will make in your weapon. I don't know what class. I probably will make a video for Sword particularly, Longsword particularly, on the perfect build for this. but it's something to consider. And the next one to consider is Flare. This makes it easier to slightly easier to inflict wounds, also deals additional non-elemental damage. Now, this sounds great, right? Because, whoa, we're getting more wounds, and we're gonna be playing around wounds, so this is gonna be great for my build. Well, technically, but the difference of inflicting wounds from Flare, it's like one hit. Like, I'm pretty sure Songtide, yeah, the YouTuber Dreaming Songtide, he made a video about Flare and how, I'm pretty sure it was like, when you get Flare 1, you go from like, in order to get a wound, you get from like 50 attacks to 49. And it's like, well, is it really worth it? Well, the thing is also, when you inflict enough damage, you also will be getting non-elemental damage, which is a little bit worth it. And considering the fact that someone like Finks, who literally speedrun Soshia in 4 minutes, was playing with Flare on his build, makes me think that it's gonna be definitely worth it in certain particular scenarios, especially on bosses that you pop wounds a lot. So if you can get it in, there's no reason not to. Especially, as we said before, if you're really focusing on this type of gameplay. Now, what builds could you bring? Well, I made a few of them. First of all, we're going to talk about the Hitokiri one. This is the one that he made. I'm just going to leave it here. He made it. I didn't. I guess I'm just putting it out there. It's a very good build. It has weakness exploit. It has 1 agitator. It has full counter strike, maximum might. The only thing that I disagree with him was that he had 3 quick sheets instead of 3 antivirus. But he might actually consider the quality of life of having quick sheet on longsword more important. For me, I would rather be greedy and have full antivirus. And also, it helps you be able to, if you're not playing longsword, you're right, you can use this build regardless, right? Because you probably don't need quick sheet if you don't play longsword. But it's a very good build. It's fully on weakness exploit for you to get as much affinity as you actually can. I'm pretty sure he said that he will get to 95% on this build. And, you know, the little agitator in there, it feels good. And of course, you have Power Breaker level 3, which is the very important part of this build. Now, I made 2 more. One, where instead of going for weakness exploit, you go for agitator. You get level 5 agitator, Power Breaker 3, but you only get a level 1 weakness exploit. This should be great for something like Soshia, where agitator is always in there. It probably will be very good for something like Arc Temper right now that comes next week. As of course, we're probably gonna be there for a while in agitated mode, in furious mode, in rage mode. It also gives you coalescence, which is actually very good. Just a little sprinkly of a bit more damage right there. Now this is a bit insane too, because I only have level 1 quick shield on this build. But what can I say? I love greeting. For the agitator build, it's actually kind of interesting. We were kind of struggling getting our Power Breaker over here, so we had to get one of the level 3s from decorations to level 2 and get myself another destroyer in here. But you could even change it up and go for weakness exploit if you wanted, or instead of level 3 Power Breaker if you really wanted to. And the cool thing about this build is that you can really go anywhere. You can like start going for Tenderizer instead of Challengers and get yourself to level 3 weakness exploit and level 3 agitator. There's a good amount of mixer you can go around and play with. You can even get to level 4 Tenderizer while having level 3 agitator if you just compromise in 1 Power Breaker, which honestly is pretty good. And for the third one is a mix of all that I said before, a mix of weakness exploit, a mix of agitator, and we also have 1 flare, as you can see right here. The biggest reason why this worked was because we got ourselves our Archveld helm, which gives us Power Breaker level 2 and a flare level 1. This is honestly a very good helm that nobody uses, but with this new strat, it might actually start being used a little bit more. This one actually has quick shield level 2 for longsword, but you can replace it with something else if you don't play longsword. It ends up working pretty well. But there you go. Hopefully this helped you understand a little bit. As I said before, go follow the other creators. They're the ones that investigate everything. Just wanted to think about how we can actually apply this information, which is super, super cool. And I'm so excited to play this way because, look, I like playing with wounds. I think it's one of the best systems inside of this game. And it makes me sad sometimes that instead of going for the wounds, I have to go in there and just spam out attack and sometimes press R2 on longsword. So this way it makes me have way more fun. I think I'm gonna make a specific longsword video for this because there's a lot of nuances that we have to consider for longsword particularly. So hopefully this helps you, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go follow the other creators and see you guys around. Love you all. Bye.